So, peace. It is church time here in Ghana, and uh, I'm sure you're going to hear it, but I like that. So I'm not. I didn't put in a microphone or anything today, because Zoom does a pretty good job of picking up voices, but you are likely going to hear the praise and worship happening. It's fine. Okay. This week we're looking at our children as teachers, uh, trusting our children being teachers, being secure in the authority, position, and responsibility that we have in their lives, and still being able to be grateful for the lessons that our returned ancestors have brought with them, and that the cloud of witnesses that sent them have intended for us, and trusting that the boson, the orisha, the angels, the creator, the universe can allow those two things to happen at once. So, I had a I had a mom say to me one time in talking about the children, well, you're one of those moms who likes to explain things to the children. I think she was giving me the job of explaining something to the children because she felt like she wasn't going to do it. But I don't usually I don't usually use all the titles for these myriad of generations we have. But I'm a Gen Xer, and my parents are boomers. So, and their parents are what was called the lost generation, I guess, or whatever it is. But my mother has a story of coming to, my mother has a story of coming, she went to go meet her father somewhere, and he was talking to one of his friends. And, she's a little kid, and she's thinking, I don't know if my nana told her to do something. I don't know if she was given the task, whatever it was. So she asked my papa, my grandfather, whatever she had to ask him, and she went back home, either to carry the message to Nana, my grandmother, or to do whatever she was supposed to be doing. When my grandfather got home and Papa got home, he told mommy, you go back over there and speak to Mr. Johnson, since you didn't speak to him when you were there. And I don't have any problem with the lesson. I don't even have a problem with the execution. I just to illustrate what that was. There clearly was not a discussion with her about. I highly doubt there was a discussion with her about. Were you thinking about speaking to Mr. Johnson? Were you what was going on? That was rude. We speak to people. We acknowledge their existence. All those things. His way was to train by showing her. I'm gonna teach you why you do it. So she didn't speak to Mr. Johnson. That's probably not his name. And she was sent out of her house to walk back to his house to speak. So being that that is how my mama was raised, and my daddy too, um, uh, and they were also raised with, I told you once, the belt will tell you twice. So those are my parents. So when they spoke to us, the lesson for us, and not that they always taught this way, but the lesson for us was, speaking to, you're speaking, spoken to, children made to be seen and not heard. And we were given some leeway. Like my mother explained things to us fairly often. She acknowledged our feelings. She listened. Uh, it's not that we didn't get checked. It's not that there were words that my father did not allow us to say in the house because they sounded like curse words because they were like curse word light. So we couldn't say, I couldn't say shoot. We couldn't say dork. We couldn't say jerk. We couldn't say freak. We couldn't say heck. Like, because he was like, you may as well just cuss. You gonna do it? You may as well just cuss. So needless to say, it took me a while to cuss. And it also took me a while to say those words. Um, you often give what you need, or you give exactly what you've been given. And my mother My mother has looked at me talking about how I talk to my children about sex or how I talk to them about their emotions. She says, "Your children have a good mommy." And I'm grateful. I have a good example, a great example. And she doesn't feel she talked to me as much as I talked to them. But she did talk to me to whatever degree she was comfortable with. Um, and because I know, and because I've been blessed with elders who have said, uh, what are your children coming to teach you? Or something will happen and they'll point out the trigger in me and what is it? Ask me, what is it that I'm gaining? I have elders who discuss things with me, allowing me to teach even as I'm learning. So because that is happening, it is not robbery to give it to my children. It's not taboo to give it to my children. Um, my children are emotionally intelligent. They're academically intelligent. They're children, so they bump into things, and adults bump into things too. Just to be clear, but they are finding their way. They are testing limits. They are trying to find their autonomy. They are trying to figure out what is me and what is them, what is their father and what is them, what is it of us that they are carrying forward, and what is it of us that they will add to the pot and keep moving forward. Um, so I don't have hangups about learning from them. I also know that my authority with them, we have taught them to respect us, to honor their elders. And we demonstrate respecting our elders and honoring our elders, hugging and kissing our parents, speaking to them when we're spoken to, respectfully speaking to them. When they ask for things, not sitting on our butts, but getting up to give it to them. So at this beautiful age of 48, I am 48. I haven't said that out loud since I turned 48, maybe once. But at this big, beautiful age of 48, uh, when I am asked to do something, I don't loiter because I know how often they've given to me. So the authority that I have with my children is based on love. It's based on respect. It's not based on fear. I don't want them to be scared of me because I also want them to talk to me. I read recently two books I think I mentioned before by Gabor Mate. One is called The Myth of Normal, and the other is called When the Body Says No. And one of the things it talks about is he asks repeatedly of people who have gone through very difficult and traumatic situations of all types, and that some of the ones they went through they never shared with their parents, especially when they were harmed as children. And he would ask those people, "How would you feel if your children did not share these things with you?" And they're like, "I feel terrible." There's a lot of reasons that our children don't feel safe to share things with us. They try to protect us because they love us. Uh, Sometimes we give them explicit or implicit messages that they can't talk to us about certain things, either because we haven't worked through them or our messaging about parenting is, "I'm the boss, so shut up." Even if we don't say it that way, our messaging is, "Don't question my authority." And questioning doesn't always mean questioning authority. So they have to be taught as well as we have to be taught to teach and receive their questioning. I talked to you all about how when I was in church as a teenager and I was wondering, well, why am I Baptist? Like, what is it that I really believe? Not because it says Greater Faith Baptist Church on the marquee outside. What do I really believe? And because, hey, butterfly, it happens every time. So great. Um, because that is not necessarily how church folks are taught. We're not taught the ontology behind things. We're not taught the roots of the church. We're not taught the theology that's being brought forth in our church. So she couldn't break it down to me. And she was rather aggravated that I asked. Um, we are not given, and even as adults and as Black adults, we are placed in situations where if we question authority, it could be dangerous to our livelihood financially. It can be dangerous to our lives physically. And so we repeat that with our children. So, all those things being equal, I know without a shadow of a doubt that my birth children and bonus children and any children outside of my family have been brought to me to teach me a lesson. And I have to be consistently working on myself enough to be secure that I am Mama Adia, that I am 48, that that I've been on this planet long enough to have experiences that coincide with theirs, that can see down the road a little further than they do, and that there's also places that they have experiences that I will not have, that they will see places that I will not see, that they have seen places I have not seen. I cannot imagine being a teenager, trying to figure out my crush on someone, trying to figure out what I wore to school today, trying to figure out what my hair looked like today, trying to figure out what awkwardness I went through in class when everyone around me has a camera in their eye. I cannot imagine what it's like to be able to have my day documented on a public platform that can become viral, that can become memed, that can be, I can't, being a teenager and a child is enough wrestling with who I want to be, who I believe I'm called to be, who I am becoming, looking at the reflections around me, looking at the people who are telling me who I'm not, or who are telling me who I have to be, to then have to do all of that on stage every day of my life. And even with that, my children able to navigate being the voices of my ancestors, being lessons from the Boso, being spaces where if I'm paying attention, they are making me a better person, a better mother, a better woman, a better person overall. And that their existence shows me, people say that there are things that are taught and things that are caught. And so there are the things like, that's the do as I say, not as I do. But we do as we see people do. And when they don't match, the words and the actions don't match, we follow the action. So when I see them catching things, I'm like, crap, did I throw that at them? And I gotta straighten up. And not in some, let's zip it up tight. But it gives me the chance to say, man, I'm doing that. And how can I relieve them of that? I need to relieve me of that so I can relieve them of that. And also, when they reflect back really beautiful things to me, and I go, I'm some of that. I am some of that. I did give them some of that. And a lot of that is theirs. And to give them the space to be the glowing, shining, beautiful human beings they are becoming means that I have to be humble enough to receive from them in all spaces. And I have to be mature and responsible enough to protect them, to keep things away from them that would dim their light, to help them as they were removing things off of themselves that would dim their light or stifle their intuition or harm their imagination. And that requires a two-way street. That requires learning and teaching from both of us. It requires it. And not only is it a requirement, it's a big old blessing. So that's what we'll be sharing about this week. Different places where my children explicitly taught me, uh, places where we taught each other. And I don't know if you can hear it. Somebody is dealing with the Holy Ghost. And the pastor just said, somebody scream, and the crowd went up. Um, but anyway, it is a large blessing to be able to be in this space. And I count it all joy that these three returned ancestors saw fit to use me as their portal to come here. I'm grateful that they accepted our invitation, and I'm grateful that they saw fit to come and to stay. I'm grateful that they saw fit to come, to stay, to learn, and to teach. I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful. Uh, I remember saying to a sister, we traveled to Costa Rica, the children, I traveled to Costa Rica a couple of years ago, and this sister who was expecting, and there's that joy of like, there's a new person coming, and you've been taught to like make this, you've been chosen to create this alchemy in your body that will bring a brand new person to the planet. So she was like all about her belly and she was glowing and everything. And I was sitting there near the beach at the restaurant and I was just telling her like, people treat it so nonchalant that we have the opportunity to influence not just this child, but the next 6 generations after that child. We have the opportunity as women to hold in our bodies nervous system regulation that regulates that child, their children, the people around them, that the things that you speak as law or demonstrate as procedure end up being what your children share with their friends. It's what they share with their friends as children and as adults. It's the things that when they feel like they're complete and maybe their friend feels like they're not complete and vice versa, they are sharing the word according to you with them. It's what they hear and they share it with their children, with their mates, with their. So what a glorious, amazing, blessed responsibility to carry out. And we get the opportunity to see the world through their eyes, even as we share it. I think I already listed all my names. So I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.